All right, so I'll, if you're ready, I'll call the meeting to order. It's a beautiful night to have a meeting outside.
This is unintentional, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Normally
Okay.
it's unlocked.
I won't call the roll because I will tell you that everyone except Lynn Young is here, and she called and said that she had an emergency that she had to deal with. So I don't, if she shows up, fine, but I don't expect, and it is past 6 o'clock already, and nobody else has shown up. So the first order of business is approval of the minutes of 5/22/25. You should have all received a copy of that, and if you have any questions, changes, if not, I entertain a motion.
Motion.
Second.
Motion's been made by Patty Bermel and seconded by David Lee. All those and any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So voted. Okay. Continued discussion. Steve, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is delightful.
It is.
I'm glad it's not tomorrow. Tomorrow's supposed to
Yeah,
be
really,
really
you'd be
brutal.
dying.
This beautiful breeze.
It's a meeting in December, you can say the same thing.
I'll be in Florida. I'll call in. I'll call in. It will be delightful down there. So there's several issues that I want to talk to you about. First is the spending authority issue. I had several conversations with the town attorney, and he agrees with the position I've taken that multi-year agreements have to be approved by the legislative body being the town meeting. And he and I talked about various ways and means that can be done. There's reasonable delegation, so the town meeting can establish an ordinance that permits the Board of Selectmen to make certain decisions within a certain dollar limit or something like that. As long as it's reasonably contained, you can do it. Another way, actually, I'm going to Salem from here. The way we're dealing it in the Salem charter is we're putting a provision in that makes it clear that when you approve your budget at the town meeting or referendum, that if you clearly delineate in the budget the multi-year agreements that will be going into effect in this year, then you're approving it. Then the town meeting is approving it in the budget. So that, let's say there's 10, I don't know how many contracts, smaller town, that's a very small town. But if they have 10 contracts, they just list it as a footnote that we're going to be going to contract on these issues this year for the next 3 years, then you've approved your multi-year agreement. And that's a clean way to do it if you're doing your planning that way. If something comes up in the middle of the year, it's a different matter. You bring it to the town meeting. So that's that issue. Term limit. Oh, the term limit case. Thank you for the article. I did talk to the town attorney today about that case, and the suit was filed. But interesting complication in the case. Do you know about this? Did the article talk about this?
I didn't read it. Martha just handed it out.
That was the,
What were you going to say? Because I don't think it talked about any
I'll tell you
complications.
in a second. When did this go in the paper?
No,
this
that,
morning's paper.
Oh, it's this morning's paper. Well,
was-
Secretary of State's office, one of the grounds for the action was that the candidate was not allowed to file his SEC documents, State Elections Commission documents, to create a candidate committee.
Mm-hmm.
That was the pretext for the lawsuit. And the Secretary of State's office, did I bring this? I told him I was going to be here and I was going to talk to you guys. I think he says this is the actual lawsuit. Here it is. Secretary of State's office had a very interesting thing to say about that. They said you have to take the papers, number one. They also said you have to take their petition if the person's petitioning to get on there. That the only time you get to acknowledge that they're not entitled to hold the office is if they're elected.
Interesting.
that is interesting.
And so the lawsuit would be ripe from their perspective if the candidate wins. Then they go to take the oath of office and the town clerk says, nope, you're not entitled to run. Now, I will tell you and I had this conversation with council today, that when I brought Simons versus Canty, which was the home rule case on recall, the trigger was the petition, which made sense. They didn't wait for the referendum to approve the recall, because that would be the equivalent argument, right, Counselor? I mean, that would be the equivalent argument. You wait for the referendum, and if the referendum passes and you recall the town clerk or the first selectman or whatever it is you're recalling, then the town clerk would say, no, that referendum was illegal. They stopped it at the moment of petition. They sued to say we have a right to file this petition, and we went to the Supreme Court. They lost, and that's where the determination was made. So the case will probably still go forward.
Granted on a non-legal issue or a technicality more than the.
Well, the secretary.
merits.
So what's happening is, I guess, counsel who is suing will have to make a determination as to whether there's other grounds, because the town clerk is now allowing the record to be done. I think the candidate has to petition. I don't think they were nominated by the party.
They were not.
Yeah, they were not, right? And so they're going to petition. So they're going to let him take the petition out.
Yeah.
So
He'll-
who would fill in if say he wins, right? And Sally said, no, we can't swear you in.
You'd have to take a look at the vacancy provision of the charter and replace them accordingly.
Even though it would be pending? It would be a pending,
Well, it would probably stay any action by the town if the candidate were to then sue and say, I'm entitled to this position, quo warranto, whatever the action would be. But I disagree with the Secretary of State. I'm assuming that his lawyers will do something.
Got to be capable of repetition, but yet evading review. So maybe the judge will take it up on that basis.
Well, they've asked for a declaratory judgment.
Yeah.
And I think the judge would say, why should in terms of judicial economy, and why would you allow an election to go by and have voters signing petitions for a candidate who has no right to be on a ballot? That's what the Secretary of State's office, I think, is wrong on it.
Yeah.
It's not my business, so I'm not going to call them and tell them that they're wrong.
Kick them in the can.
It's their case. So the case is still a live case, but the premise, the trigger mechanism for the case is gone. So we'll have to figure out another way of doing it. Next issue, voting districts. And I did talk to the town attorney about this, and he confirms my thought on it as well. You don't need this provision in the charter, and it certainly doesn't have to be done by ordinance. There's a statute that allows legislative body, again, the town meeting, would be the entity that can divide and redivide the municipality into voting districts, 9-169. So you can leave the provision in there, but and the statute's very interesting, because the statute also says that in spite of a special act or a charter provision, the statute rules. And so if your charter says we have 5 districts, that's meaningless. If the town meeting wants to come up and say we want to have 10 districts or 2 districts, they are allowed under statute to contradict what the charter says. My view on it is you don't need it. Or you can simply say that the town shall be divided into voting districts as set forth by the general statutes or something like that. So that's the answer to that
so
question.
we don't have to address that, really. We don't have
Well,
to-
it's in your chart. I left my charter in the car.
But wasn't the question that the registrar of voters wanted to have control over adjusting the districts? But there's no authority to do that, right?
No
Is that-
authority to
is
do
No,
that
they
correct?
wanted the authority
Authority to-
to recommend.
They
That-
can do that already.
But it would still have to go to a town meeting,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah, I
The
think, did they want to do it without a town meeting,
No.
or? Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And
Because
no.
there was no specific grant of authority of who is the one that suggests
Okay.
that the number of districts be changed. Is it just somebody having a petition handed into the town clerk, the selectmen's offices, or the registrars of voters?
Yeah, and the statute's silent on that as well. The statute simply says the legislative body may divide and from time to time redivide a municipality into voting districts. Then it says the registrars of any municipality taking such action shall provide. So it makes it sound like it's the registrars that go to the legislative body and recommend the district divide. And that if the registrars fail to agree, then the legislative body gets to do whatever they want to do. So it sounds like, from the way the statute reads, that the registrars actually make the recommendation, which makes sense, doesn't it?
And the key here is these are not representative districts.
They're not. This is
So
not
it
Baker
doesn't-
versus Carr.
Right, so it doesn't matter whether they get changed, or it makes little difference whether they get changed or not.
There's no one person, one vote
Yeah.
standard. These are not districts like if you have a city council and you have a district system or a ward system. Those have to be state legislative delegations. Those have to be what I call Baker versus Carr, one person, one vote districts, so that these are just administrative entities that make it easier to get people out to the polls. All right, last thing on this list, and we can talk broadly about next steps, but I did talk to Chris Hodgson today. We had a really good chat. He reminded me of the time he came to my house for a political event 24 hours late. And then I showed him my music room, and he was envious of my Beatles poster in my music room. I said, those are not real Beatles signatures. That was just if they were there, they would be in a library somewhere, or a museum somewhere. The Brian Wilson signature is real, so that's kind of cool, but not the Beatles. So what Chris said was this. It kind of agrees with and Ray and I talked about this a little bit. My theory: don't put anything in the charter on the standard. Leave it loose. If anything, you want to have department heads serving at the pleasure of the chief executive. And so why lay out a standard in the charter? Let the courts decide. And what you can do is you can have, sometimes a person who wants to be your town assessor, or a person wants to be your planner, or whatever it may be, whatever the position may be, the police chief, the fire chief, whatever it may be, you may go to contract with them. And then at that point, I say you sit down with your town attorney or your labor council and make sure that you establish a clear standard for termination. But he thought it didn't make sense to have a uniform standard in a charter on cause or just cause.
Comments, questions?
I think that makes sense. Personally, coming from the HR role and working with the labor attorney and things like that, I think having it in there would actually make things more difficult and challenging. They don't terminate. I mean, you have a first selectman, you have a labor attorney, you have a head of HR. You don't do things willy-nilly when you have those three arms.
Well, I'll tell you, they do. They do.
I get, but I'm just saying
and
you
there's
shouldn't.
been several of them throughout the state where the towns have been sued and they wind up coming back. And the standard that they established was just cause, and they had all the criteria for that. And the chief of police, it's in the general statutes,
Yeah.
just cause.
Yeah.
The
Ambrosio statutes.
Right. The problem is that administrators, when you get elected people in those positions, a lot of times, they feel they have authority to do many things.
Oh, yeah.
And they're not maybe familiar with the general statutes that relates to government. Some do. But I think it winds up costing the towns a lot of money, and this is sort of a concern. And it also hurts the person that gets let go. And people that are afraid in this position may do things that they normally wouldn't do because they have a family to take care of, this arbitration. But I think one of the other issues, and I don't know if you're getting into the directors and the department heads, there was a clear difference. The directors were not in the union and the department heads are in the union. So even though you have a contract or such, whether they be presently, a lot of them are in the union that we have, which is another issue on how to handle that. But I always felt that there should be at least a core group of functional people. I mean, if the general statutes eliminates a position, it's gone, whether it's in the charter or not.
What kind of position?
Well, say they no longer had an assessor, or they no longer had a planning department.
Well, that's the local
general
choice. The
statute.
statutes are not going to, the general statutes that set up assessors and those types of things are for towns without charters. But if you have a charter, you have control over what positions you want to have in your.
Right, but
in
are you
your-
still saying that we would take out all of those positions out of the charter, or we would put them in, we keep them in the charter?
I think you should, at the very least, I didn't know we were going to go in this direction, but I just was literally having this conversation with one of my clients that's just going through this decision-making process. It's a big city, so they have a lot of positions. But
Right.
my general view on charters is that minimize the number of positions you specify in the charter and lay out the functions. And then create your departments based on your functions by ordinance. Now, small towns have a harder time doing that in terms of creating your department system by ordinance. Is the town meeting really conducive to doing something like that? Well, whether they are or not, that's the law. They are the legislative body. And so my general view is create as much as you can through budget and ordinance and just have your functions in the charter. There are some things you do want to lay out in the charter clearly. I mean, there's things and there's functions that are absolutely critical. You'll be surprised to hear the ones that I don't think are. But the ones I think are critical are your centralized operational functions: purchasing, tax collection, the assessor responsibilities, the finance responsibilities. Those are the core responsibilities, and probably legal, town attorney, legal services. Those are the central operations that run the town. Something as important as human services or police or fire. Those aren't core. Those are important, but those are not. The town will run whether you have a volunteer fire department or a fire department that is in your charter as a government entity. So you can create those things by, you can say there shall be fire services, or fire functions, and police functions, and all that. But I think the ones that really need to be as defined as well as possible are those core functions that are the operational functions of a local government. And that's the way in a big city, civil service, having a good, sound civil service system, ethics systems, things like that.
May I interject just for a few seconds, because I see that we could sit here and discuss
Yeah.
this all night. And we were given a charge by the present Board of Selectmen to look at this issue. The problem that I foresee is that regardless of whether we discuss this tonight or not, there is going to be a new Board of Selectmen come November. And so my suggestion was going to be, and it is, that we perhaps invite the candidates for selectmen to come to one of our meetings to give their input if they so choose. It serves two purposes. Number one, we have been fortunate that the present Board of Selectmen has appointed us, and they have interest in what we're doing. We don't know about what the next Board of Selectmen is going to do or what their interests are going to be. I certainly would like to hear from them about it and forge that relationship from right now, before they get elected. And when they do get elected, we have an idea of what they want, and we can continue to work with them. I'm proud of what we're doing here, and I think we're serving a useful purpose. But we will be in April. We'll be going away. Let's continue to make this group meaningful, and I think the way we do that is by inviting these people in and having them come in and talk to them, make them part of the process, which they will be part of the process whether they like it or not when they get elected. But let's.
Would that be weird to invite a group of different candidates, some who are not going to win and some are going to win?
Not at all. I think that I think Ray's idea, we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. There will be a new government in November, and I think it's perfectly appropriate. I wouldn't have them the same night. You don't want to turn it into a debate.
Yeah.
I probably, if there's two sets, I don't know if there's 3 people running or just 2 people running.
We don't exactly know yet.
All right. I would say starting maybe in September, maybe you'll have a special meeting or something to accommodate that. Invite them in, let them know what we're doing. Let them know what the charge is, let them know what we've done thus far.
Let them read the charter.
That's a good thing too.
Well, it's an open
Let me tell you very
public
often,
meeting anyway.
I don't want to name the town, but I recently discovered that one of the towns I'm dealing with just decided to read the charter when I had to go back to them to get their recommendations on the charter. And we ended up with 6-hour meetings. Ridiculous, but it is nice. Now they've read the charter and now they understand it. And we ended up coming back to the Charter Commission with 53 recommendations. That's what I'm doing tonight in Salem. So I guess the name of the town now. But most of them are small things, and we'll fix them and they'll be fine. But I think it's useful because I think I wouldn't act on any of the things.
Yeah.
But what we will know is in November, when one of those people is elected first selectman and the other members of the Board of Selectmen, we should have an immediate informal conversation. Ray could call them and say, do you want us to look into these things? We'll at least know what the range of concerns are that they have. Now, they may come before you and say, we don't have time for this right now, and we don't want to deal with this. That's their privilege. But I think that because we won't have a lot of time, we can't start over again, because we're done in March or
Yeah, we'd
April,
have
whatever
to
the date was,
yeah.
the terminus date that we have. And that's going to move pretty quickly. And it's going to go back to where? Them. It's going to go to the Board of Selectmen, not the Board of Selectmen that appointed you. It's going to go to the new Board of Selectmen. It will be the replacement appointing authority. So I think the idea of having them here, getting a sense of what those issues are, we'll look at them together. If there's anything complicated, I can do a little prospecting so that in November, if we have to hit the ground running because something big is something they want to do, then we can do it. But I think it's a great idea. And it's not like we're overloaded with a lot of stuff anyhow.
Pressure's off now.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I'd rather do that than have us continue to meet and do work, and then in December someone says, we don't want any of that. To me, that's a waste of our time.
Yeah.
Your time. And,
Well, if they're not going to present it to the public, I mean,
yeah.
that's.
Well, I mean, you look,
It's up to them.
I don't know if any of them are taking the position that, hey, let them waste their time, but we're going to fire Mednick. We don't need to spend money on this thing. I'm not presenting this. We're just,
I'm sure most of the candidates probably haven't focused on the charter.
they
at
probably don't
this
know it
point.
exists, but, and I don't think we're doing anything that's really
No.
controversial
We're
here.
cleaning up stuff. I mean, some of the financial stuff makes sense. When
Yeah.
it came from the Board of Finance, that made sense.
But the issue that was being talked about a moment ago, Ray, it might be useful to look at, because I don't know where the split is, who are the union, who are the members of the collective bargaining unit and who are not. And I think the charter, I'm sure if you know that, put it together for me, and then I'll look at the charter and see if we can map out to lay out basically appointment authority and how that works. We probably shouldn't put a standard of termination in, or what the grounds of termination are, but at least if we know that these are the non-bargaining unit people, let's lay that out so it's clear. So
Yeah, there's probably only 5 or 6 that are not bargaining unit people, so it's not
it's
a
usually
big
a small
group.
number.
It's a pretty small group.
Right.
And
It's a
that
finance director, the public administrator, the assessor, the finance director.
Let's go slow again here.
Yeah,
It's standing.
the Director of Assessment.
Director of
Assessor.
assessment. There was a director of planning, which is in the charter.
That's coming back, so there's going to be, I think there's a new role.
And
So
they-
what's the administrator? Is that
Director of Administrative Services is the title.
okay?
The finance
Assessor-
director
Finance director.
Human Services Director.
and public works. And I don't know if they changed their title. Is that a different title?
Director of Public Works is still Director of Public Works.
Okay.
So that's,
I'll take a look at that.
And then the interesting thing is, these are, so the tax collector and the town clerk lead smaller departments. They are elected, they're going to non-elected. It's unclear whether they're going to be union or non-union. I imagine they will be non-union, but that, I don't think has been determined
They could
yet.
always petition to get into the union.
So, yeah,
well,
so that,
solid waste is union.
no, I'm talking about the clerk and the tax collector, because
Right,
they're
right. But
switching
what
to.
yeah, they would,
So those are kind of up in the air until we know where that lands. I don't know where that one's going to land. And then like the police chief is not in the union. So in the police department, I don't know if you care about that, but there's 3 roles in the police department that aren't, which is the chief, the deputy chief, and the captain.
Back in May, I gave you this memo on the boards and commissions.
Yep.
What did we decide to do with that? Did you want me to,
I think we did want to clean that up. We
Right.
definitely wanted to clean up
or
that.
then I'll take,
Yeah, because
then I'll
right
work on that for
now,
the
there's
next
a bunch
meeting.
missing, there's some older ones in. I think what we talked about is the ones that have elected roles we wanted to keep as elected. And we thought there was a
Right.
few other ones that we deemed kind of more important. I don't want to, that sounds horrible, like planning and zoning, WPCA, that aren't necessarily elected in the police commission, but are kind of bigger, more relevant ones that people care about, and maybe kind of highlight those and then reference everything else by ordinance. I think that's what we wanted to
Good.
do.
All right, I'll look at that for the next meeting. What else? You going for drinks now?
I'm okay with that too.
So are we on the record?
So,
No one seconded that motion, for the record, for the,
you can go on your own then. You know, if there's any other questions or any other items for discussion, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
and you'll do invites, by the way, to the candidates?
That's,
Right.
that's what I will do.
And our next meeting is
End of August?
August something.
Yeah, so end of August, I'm gonna, we'll see. It may be that maybe we wanna meet twice in September or something
Yeah.
like that. We'll see, because every meeting that we've had has not been although we've had a regular schedule, it's been more special rather than having,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and I'm sorry I missed, I forget what crisis I had a month ago, but
It
I
ended up being canceled, I think.
yeah, no, I canceled
Canceled.
because I couldn't be, I know what it was, I was doing the transfer station deal for Essex, which was a bear.
Summertime, we haven't worked through the summer before, and
Yeah.
it's kind of difficult to get people interested. So I really appreciate you all being here tonight. You know, I wish there were more people who showed up.
Well, this is my favorite meeting I've had of the Charter Commission. This is cool.
Hey, and by the way, if you invite candidates, you'll get a lot of people that are going to show up for your charter revision commissions if they know that. Well, it might not be on the agenda, but you probably would have to put it on the
No,
agenda.
it would be on the agenda. Well,
Yeah.
let's see. We'll extend the invitation. If they want to come, fine. If they don't want to come, that's fine too. But let's extend the invitation and go from there.
From what I heard, I think now, are you done recording? Have we adjourned?
We haven't voted on it yet, but we
Okay.
will shortly.
No, I was wondering how many I think there's only 3 candidates altogether.
There's 4 candidates. There's 4 candidates, and the way it happens is the top 3 are.
Oh, there's 4. I didn't know there was 4.
Yeah. So there's one for. There are 2 running for first selectman, and then there are 2 other candidates running for selectman. And so what happens is, even if amongst the first selectmen,
the top.
even if the person who gets the second, who loses first selectman, gets
They can be the select-
top, they can be a select person
Right,
if they so
right.
choose.
If they get the top, they can't
Yeah.
go first.
Both candidates will be on the Board of Selectmen. Could be.
Yeah.
It just has to have a minority.
So, there you go, and there has to be minority representation too. So, there you go. All right, it seems like there's been enough discussion, but I don't want to cut anybody short if they want to say anything more, but if not, I would, all those in favor of adjourning,
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
any opposed? Thank you so much.
Thank you.